Australia is the last place we need to take before the entire Pacific is ours. I'm going to start with this tiny island down here first though, Tasmania, just to get an airbase. I split off a ship to do some recon and found that the island was empty, so a single division is enough. I'm also just building civs until I run out of building slots. We're going to need a lot of them later on. The other reason to go after Tasmania first is to do a bit of a trick to get reinforcements to the main landing in Sydney a little bit quicker. I tell a bunch of infantry divisions to go to Tasmania, and the point of that is to get them close to the Australian coast, and then I change their orders to go up to New Guinea to force them to move north. This manipulates their pathing so that they're right next to Sydney when the tanks take it, so it saves some time. Alright, Australia is down. Now it's time to actually land on the mainland somewhere and start pushing west. I split off another ship to do some recon and decide to land on this port here in Kamchatka. It's going to be a very long walk to get from here all the way to Europe, and it probably would have been better to go the other way towards North America first if I were to be completely honest, but I want to be able to evacuate the divisions I have on my home islands. It's annoying having to defend them with half my army, so I want to get rid of all the nearby enemy ports and air bases so they can't naval invade anymore. I also made an entire army of paratroopers, hoping to do some crazy micro with them to get some overruns like in my Ragnarok playthrough, but the tiles in this part of the world are so huge that my transport planes don't have the range to do anything. They usually can't paradrop even a single tile away from the front line, so these paratroopers pretty much just sit on the mainland the whole game. This is also the reason why I've built so many civs. I'm basically going to be building a highway from here all the way to Paris, so I'll be maxing out the infrastructure, building level 5 railways everywhere, and building a ton of airports to ensure I have green air everywhere and don't get nuked. The main advantage of fighting in this part of the world is that the bot doesn't tend to build airports very often, so even though they have way more planes than I do in total, they have nowhere to land them, so I'll be the only one with planes in the air, and Cass is going to be the only reason why I can push. I also run into some trouble here with some enemy submarines. They're super annoying and for some reason my ships can't find them. I try everything, building radar, doing patrol missions. I even try using some naval bombers and those help a little, but they don't actually solve the underlying problem. I just don't have enough detection. So I eventually decide to design a super crazy endgame spotting ship, and then I start producing a few. The supply, infrastructure, and terrain is so bad in this part of the world that it can take as long as a month to move just one tile. It's actually faster to plan and launch naval invasions than it is to walk. Blink and you'll miss it, but I deployed one of those new spotting ships and it immediately found the subs, and my destroyer sank the whole stack in a single engagement, ending the problem just like that. Now this is the part of the game where things really start to slow down. It's a constant cycle of pushing until I run out of supply, and then waiting and building new ports and supply hubs. And supply hubs take a very long time to finish. If I'm near a coast, then I just need to make a port, which is cheap and easy. But once I start to get deeper inland, things slow way down since that's not an option anymore. So I cut out all the footage where I'm just waiting and nothing's moving. It's taking a lot longer to advance than it looks though. We're starting this advance in January 1959. Let's see how far we make it in 1 year. For most of this advance, I try to make it so that all my battles happen sequentially rather than all at once. I only have a limited number of casts in an air zone, and having a bunch of battles all happening at the same time dilutes their effectiveness because casts can only be in one place at a time. I want all of them to show up to every single battle to maximize the damage output because these infantry divisions aren't good at pushing on their own. Cass is doing almost all the work. For this to work though, I want only one battle happening at any one time so they can all concentrate. This is the cast design I will be using. It's about as expensive as you can make it. I noticed that I'm not losing very many planes to anti-air, so I figured I can probably get away with this. At this point in the game, IC efficiency doesn't really matter anymore. IC efficiency only matters in the early game when there's a time limit. Here, I don't have one. If I ever run out of planes, I'll just stop advancing for a while to rebuild the stockpile. I'm definitely going to need this extra range. These tiles are huge, and while I am building airports everywhere, the game doesn't let you control which specific province they appear in. So even the closest airports you build can show up quite far away from the front line where they need to reach. I'm kinda surprised just how many civs we're getting from trade. 25 of them right now, and we're not even on free trade. There's a ton of neutral countries right now, and it's also late game, so every single one of them has a ton of mills. So to use them, they need resources, and they don't care who has them. They'll buy from anyone, even me. So I'm getting a pretty nice economic boost. been a while since I checked in on Singapore, so let's see what's going on over there. And here we can see the bot openly cheating again, not even trying to hide it. What even is this? A minus 116% exceeding combat width penalty. Seems legit. How long has this been going on for? I'm not exceeding the width, so why do I have this penalty? And why is it so high? The wiki claims that the largest combat width penalty you can get is minus 33%, at which point no more divisions will be added into the battle. I more than tripled that somehow. That or the bot is just prolifically cheating all throughout this campaign. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened. Already they've nuked me twice while I had green air. They did that back in part 1, and they seem to always know exactly where my tanks are at. The bot kept nuking them in part 2. Now they're wiping out my stats when I'm not looking in part 3. And spoiler alert, they pull even more egregious stuff in the future. I was already a HOI4 conspiracy theorist before this, but this one really sent me. I firmly believe now that the bot openly cheats all the time. By the end of this campaign, you might believe it too. It's officially been a year now since we landed on the mainland and started this offensive. There's a reason why most players try to avoid this part of the world. It just takes ages to make progress. But the total lack of infrastructure and enemy air bases makes it ideal for me. It just takes a long time. I'm doing a lot of last stands as well. Since it can take as long as a month to advance a tile, I really don't want to lose any of them. I also don't plan on pushing all the way to Europe like this, at least not yet. I'll be slowly turning south towards China. So about a month went by in real life between that last clip and this one, and during that time this mod was actually updated. Some new events ended up getting introduced and the like, but the problem was I was still playing this campaign. It was still in progress, and I still wanted to continue it. So things ended up going a bit screwy, even more than they already were. I got a bunch of weird decisions that I didn't have before, and then a bunch of new events triggered that were supposed to happen at the start of the game. Instead, they happened all at once right now. The invasion of Japan. This is some kind of scripted event that got added during the update, I guess. But I think we can just chalk this up to another example of the bot cheating. They don't have naval supremacy. They can't launch a naval invasion. They just teleported their division over here. And now the Emperor wants to surrender. We own the entire Pacific and control an empire spanning far beyond his wildest dreams, but he apparently wants to surrender. I actually have to stage a coup now to get rid of him. We are so deep in the weeds right now that I genuinely almost ended the campaign right here and restarted, because we are completely off the rails. With this new mod update, it's now clearly intended that all these events are supposed to happen at the beginning of the campaign, where they might have actually made a difference. That was when we were at our weakest, but now we're just too strong for them to matter. In the end, I decided to keep going though. I'd invested too much time, and I believe that even if these events had triggered back at the start of the game, it still wouldn't have been enough for them to actually win. I retreated my whole army to the main islands at the start of the game. I would have held, and then the game would have played out the exact same way after. Even with their busted 1500 soft attack marines that they teleported over here, they're not going to take the mainland. Though I will say it was a good thing I kept all these divisions here. It was a good try though. Warping reality and teleporting in godlike marines was actually a pretty good strategy, and I hadn't expected it. I need more units on the front line. That's my biggest issue right now. The line is too thin. I'm definitely not going to evacuate all my divisions defending the main islands though. Who knows what the bot might try to teleport in next. Probably be fighting Godzilla. One thing I really wish I'd done though is just mass producing supply hubs. There's a decent stretch of time here where my civs aren't doing anything except for useless repairs. I should have just made a bunch of extra supply hubs or something. But what you're seeing here is a lot of footage of late night game sessions where I'm just autopiloting and not thinking straight. So oftentimes there'll be a clip where I'm trying to achieve some sort of short-term goal only to completely reverse course in the next clip because it's a week later or something. It's only through the magic of video editing that this all looks like one continuous playthrough. The beginnings of a longer-term plan do start to form around here though. Mongolia, as it turns out, is actually a neutral country. They aren't part of the Allies, so I don't actually have to fight them. Might as well be an impassable mountain range. So I can potentially trap a large number of enemy divisions against the border, especially if I also do the same thing from the south once I start pushing into China. It'll make sense when you see it. That's what I'm aiming for though. Really tried pushing all the way to that supply hub, but I couldn't quite make it. Had to pause to build another one first. Something really strange starts happening here too. For the longest time, there hasn't been an enemy navy to fight against. It's all either been sunk or sitting in port doing nothing. But now, a ton of stuff starts happening all at once. A bunch of massive naval battles start, and I suddenly start sinking hundreds of convoys full of enemy divisions. But there's so many of them that a few divisions actually start to slip through all the subs. All of these casualties are just from convoy raiding. Just look at all these ships we're sinking. They are sacrificing so much just to take these tiny, worthless little islands. Islands I'm just going to retake. They've taken 1.1 million casualties in 3 months just from convoy raiding. That's 10% of all the casualties they've taken in this entire campaign so far, just in the last 3 months. And another nuke. Of course, the bot hates this island. No one's on it except for civilians. Now that that's all handled, we can finally get back to what we were doing over here. Supply hubs are built so we can keep pushing to the Mongolian border. This is basically going to be the first arm of a massive pincer. The other one will be formed somewhere in China once we start pushing there. This is annoying. Their divisions are getting absolutely mauled by our subs, but their shattered remnants and stragglers are still landing. I won't need the tanks to mop them up. Those units are so weak that a few infantry divisions should be enough. Alright, first objective is complete. We reached the Mongolian border. Now I'm trying to figure out how to make the second arm of the pincer and decided that Korea looks like a good spot for a landing. I'd land there, push into China, and reach the southern border of Mongolia and create an absolutely massive pocket. Going to need some more tanks first though. The Provisional Government of China. This will be quite nice to have because they'll have cores once I start taking back China, so I can use their manpower. Bit of a strange strategy here with this naval invasion. I'm not targeting the port. I plan to land here and build a port instead. The strait crossing there will allow me to protect that port while it's under construction by blocking it with my navy should I ever need to. So I'll never be kicked off the mainland. I land with a floating harbor for a little bit of temporary supply too, then I start mass producing forts for some extra protection. We just need to hold until the port is finished. I ran out of fuel with my tank, so I had to block the strait. And there we go, port is finished. Just need to get my fleet out of the way now because it's consuming all the supply. But we've got our foothold now, we just need to slowly start creeping forwards. You know, I was expecting to advance rather quickly here, but they are attacking me so much that I decided to just stay put for a while until they calm down. My divisions are getting tons of XP and I'm grinding my general too. I'm also tearing apart their air force. Unfortunately though, it's slowly becoming apparent that even though I'm massively outtrading them in the air, I can't actually keep that up forever. My fighter stockpile is slowly creeping down, and I am unable to sustain these losses long term. We still have some time, but I need to speed things along a little, so I came up with a new idea. I fall back one tile and decide to set up an encirclement trap to try and thin out their numbers a little. Basically, I'm going to keep doing that over and over again. Looks like they're going after Taiwan this time. It's fine though, I'll take it back in a minute. Yeah, I really can't sustain these air losses. If I lose too many planes, I might lose green air somewhere I need it and get nuked, so I'm forced to withdraw from Korea. Things were kinda taking too long there anyway. I have a much better way to use these tanks. The great thing about this territory in the north is that the bot doesn't have supply here for most of his units. That makes them very slow to move around, and it will make breakthroughs much easier to create and also much more effective as well. With this one, I'm trying to reach some better terrain further south where I can actually start to make use of these tanks. Things will start speeding up massively once that happens.